Hey everyone, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and anything else we find interesting. As usual, we'll be checking out some more Reddit posts, so be sure to share your thoughts about today's stories down in the comments and let's get right into it. Assaulted in a bar last night, New Jersey. I was at a bar last night. It wasn't terribly crowded, but still a decent amount of people. I got up to use the bathroom and walked behind a group of girls. I was about 3 feet away when I felt a hand grab my shoulder. I turned around and was full-on slapped across the face by a girl who yelled, "F*** her." This girl proceeded to scream that I had pinched her butt as I walked by. She yelled that she wanted me thrown out and arrested and to call the police. Here's where it gets interesting. I've been going to this bar for over 7 years. They know me there. The bartender says, "He didn't put a hand on you, I saw him walk right past you." She kept screaming, and by this point a good amount of people were telling me, "Just get out of here. Dude, you don't touch a girl. Really, perv? Get the f*** out of here." At this point, one of her friends, who has been laughing hysterically, chokes out, "Stacy, it was me. I was just kidding with you." Her mood immediately changes and she starts laughing. "Oh my god, you got me so angry, ha ha." When the crowd had dispersed, I walked over to the girl that had slapped me and said, "Do you have something you want to say to me?" She gave me a disgusted look. No. It was my friend. It was all a joke. Bye." And turned away from me. I walked outside, called the police on my cell phone, and had them come to the bar. 2 officers showed up. I gave one my statement, and he laughed in my face. "Sounds like you were in the wrong place at the wrong time." People seemed shocked that I insisted on making a police report. After they collected statements, one officer comes up to me. "Sounds like a big misunderstanding. The girl says she thought you grabbed her ass. I mean, can you blame her?" I responded, "For committing aggravated assault? Yes, I can. I was assaulted and she couldn't even offer an apology. I want her arrested." The cop sighed. "Look, she's 22 years old. She's been drinking. Do you really want to be the guy that causes her to have a criminal record for the rest of her life?" I responded, "She did that when she chose to commit a felony. Yes, I want her arrested." After, he tried to guilt me into dropping it a few more times. He went back to his partner and they took the girl into another part of the bar. She came back around 20 minutes later with a paper in her hand and sat back with her friends. The officers told me they'd be in touch and left without arresting her. People kept coming up to me and giving me crap about what a sweet girl she is, how I'm a pussy for calling the police, how I overreacted, how she didn't owe me an apology, etc. I left shortly after. What actions should I take? In light of the officers pressuring me to drop it, I felt like I needed to go down to the station and make an additional report. I want to make sure this doesn't magically get dropped because the officer felt the girl was too pretty to arrest. I wouldn't have called the police had she apologized. The way I saw it, she made a snap judgment about me. She embarrassed me, called me names, and wanted to see me go to jail without even knowing who I was. A minute later, when the shoe was on the other foot, rather than make a snap judgment that she deserved to be punished, I gave her the opportunity to apologize. Rather than make amends for her wrong, she treated me like less than human once again. Do I want to see someone get a record over a mistake? No. But for her, the second she realized it was a joke, that was the end of it. No realization of, "Oh my god, I just put my hands on an innocent man." Or I tried to get him arrested and berated him publicly. That was just the end for her. And I don't feel it should be. She has to learn that her actions have consequences, and that's why I called the police. Update. A few days ago I retrieved my mail and found a handwritten envelope with my address. I opened it and found the following. "Dear OP, I would like to extend my deepest apologies to you for my behavior at bar. I was out of control and took it upon myself to hit you for something I had judged you guilty of without proof. It was wrong and I am so truly sorry. Please know that I have entered a treatment program and have quit drinking entirely. I have a problem, I know this, and it is up to me to fix it. I feel badly that you were made to feel the consequences of my actions, and realize how thoughtless it was of me to not offer up an apology when you approached me. My attorney is attempting to get me a conditional dismissal on the charges as they stand. I know this may not be the outcome that you were seeking, but I swear to you that my actions that night do not represent me. I am 1 semester away from graduating from university and completing my student teaching. I want to do good in this world, and I am truly scared that this will prevent me from doing that. I promise you that I will never lay a hand on another person in this lifetime. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Respectfully, girl." I was floored. My only guess is that she did this against the advice of her attorney. Then I noticed she mentioned charges. I thought there was only one. When I was at the bar last night, my first time in nearly a month, I asked the bartender who had stood up for me if he knew anything further. Apparently, she told the police. She had first asked me if I had grabbed her ass, at which point I laughed in her face, and that is when she slapped me. Lie. I'm guessing this is why the cops were so reluctant to do anything that night. About a half hour after I left, the girl decided to have a cigarette. She came running back in 10 minutes later saying to call the police, as someone had carved the word bitch into the side of her car. Well, the same cops showed back up. She gave another statement and once again blamed me. The bartender then said, "Look, there's an easy way to tell if he did it. We'll go in the back and take a look at the outside security cam tapes for the last hour." Yep, the bar has cameras. All of a sudden, the girl wanted to drop it. There was no proof. It's minor anyway. As you can guess, they reviewed the footage. And of course, she did it right before she ran back into the bar. So she has charges pending for that as well. I'm actually considering writing a letter for her supporting her receiving a conditional dismissal. Under those terms, I don't think she'll be able to student teach until about a year and a half from now. I'm not out to destroy her life, and if she's genuinely in a treatment program and remaining sober, then she deserves another chance. I've dealt with alcoholics in my life before. I have multiple family members who are in AA, are in denial, experience serious health complications as a result of alcoholism, or some combination of the above. It makes you do stupid things. I can only imagine keying her own car was an attempt to try to make it so that she wouldn't face the simple assault charge and force me to call it even. Now she has to deal with multiple charges and pay to fix her own car. At the very least, her life as she wants to live it has been placed on hold for a minimum of a year and a half. I think that punishment more than fits the crime. And moving on to the update. It's been a while, but I found out some news this weekend that I wanted to share. I was out with some friends last night at another bar when I ran into some of the girls from that group. I noticed a girl staring at me and I realized I knew her from somewhere. Finally, she said, "Oh my god, are you the guy that Stacy slapped?" I decided to leave it alone and never responded to the letter I received. I was never asked to testify and didn't go down to the police station to obtain a copy of the report. The girl I spoke with told me the following. Stacy and the other girl, the one who grabbed her, had a huge falling out over the whole thing. They blamed each other and nobody really talked to either of them anymore. Stacy got into a diversion program. She's made a whole new group of friends through AA and doesn't really hang out with people outside of the program. She was dropped from the teacher certification program because she had pending charges. They told her she could reapply once her record is clean. Apparently, this is when Stacy turned on the friend that grabbed her. The girl I spoke with didn't know how long the diversion program is. I hope she sticks with it, and I sincerely hope there's more good than bad that comes from this for her. My neighbor has basically booby-trapped his front yard. What can I legally do about it? So I live in a house in a South Florida suburb where the streets are wide enough to allow street parking, legally, for guests, as most houses only have a small driveway to fit a couple cars tops. This has never been an issue in the 3 years I've lived here, but lately my neighbor has gotten really obsessed about people driving up his lawn and scuffing his grass when they park, and this week decided to do something about it. His grass goes all the way to the street, and when people turn in to park, they sometimes drive maybe a foot onto his grass if they're really careless. I've always told my guests to park away from his house, because I know how angry he gets about it and I don't want the hassle. However, said neighbor has now placed several rebar posts with the tops sharpened to tips right at the edge of his grass, and they're low enough in that they're hard to spot if you're driving by or unfamiliar with the street. I asked the neighbor about it when I was walking my dog, and he said that if people are going to be dicks and drive on his lawn, then they deserve to get their tires punctured. I have to assume that there is no way this is legal, but what exactly can I do about it? Is this something I should call the city about, or is it a police matter? Edit. I've called the police non-emergency line from work, and they said they would send someone out to take a look and talk to the neighbor if need be. I'll update when something happens. And on to the update. I got home late last night and the posts were still there. So after walking my dog, I called the police non-emergency line again, and they said they'd send a car out early in the morning. I'm working from home today, and sure enough, around 8 a.m., a cop car pulled up to my neighbor's house. 2 officers stepped out and kicked around his front yard where the posts were before going up to knock on his door. There was about a 5-minute discussion where my neighbor looked quite agitated. Couldn't hear what was said, but he came out with some gloves on and pulled all the posts out while the cops watched, and he seemed to be shouting at them. The officers took the posts, then one handed him something, not sure if a citation, pamphlet, or something else, and drove away. The neighbor left for work in a huff about 30 minutes later. Not sure if it's the last thing the neighbor will try, but at least that hazard is gone. Thanks to everyone for the advice. Karma for entitled homeowner who thinks they own lake access. We have a home in a gated community in Florida with a boat ramp and dock in a lake. The community doesn't own the lake, and other homes around the lake have their own private access. Our access is for homeowners within our gated community only. A few years back, some homeowner installed a post and a padlock chain across the boat ramp, preventing anyone from putting in boats. No idea who did it, but the HOA cut the lock and removed the chain. So ridiculous. Last year, a homeowner, no idea if it was the same one, had their boat in at the dock, and would drive his truck down and park it on the grass by the dock. Parking on grass isn't allowed as it kills it. He was told numerous times to stop and to park in the small lot further up from the ramp. Finally, all that worked was for the HOA via board volunteers to put up 2 no parking signs on the grass, space to block the possibility of parking. From then on, he started parking on the pavement at the bottom of the ramp, blocking anyone else from putting in a boat. Again, he was warned and didn't change his ways, until one day when someone was actually blocked and notified a board member to call towing. The tow company came out, and at some point in the process, the truck rolled back into the lake up to the doors. I'm sure insurance covered the damage, but still nice that he had to deal with karma for his entitlement. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to drop a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Reddit content like this. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you next time.